Thank you so much, gentlemen. And as Zeke said, this is the final shot, the final opportunity to book that ticket, to stamp your claim on the grand finals, on that top 8. And with 3 spots up for grabs, 5 of our top trios have already cemented themselves. The question is, Sancho, if you are in 9th through 16th, do you press really hard right now with the risk of potentially being bounced out of a wild card match, or do you just stick with your game plan and just try and see if the cards fall your way?
I think at this moment, you got to stick with the gameplay. You got to stick with who brought you to this dance. You know, it's not a matter of, I got to say, all it takes is those, like, one build, one pump, one arrow, like a AR shot. It can get you that 1 point. And if you kind of play out of that mold, so to speak, you could totally ruin your run. You can't slip at this moment, you know. Once you get higher up, once you get on top of those mountains, that is when things get really treacherous, and you have to make sure that every place where you put your foot is a solid footment place, you know. Without that, you're going to slip on down and fall off this proverbial mountain. And standing tall on top of this mountain is Flick, Anos, and Thomas HD. And we saw in their Victory Royale a little taste of what's going to happen in Grands. We saw Tayson. We saw Mr. Savage. 3 trios represented in the region, all at in-game. That's what's up.
And I mean, it was a huge clutch individually by Savage as well, effectively guaranteeing their grand finals run. We talked about kind of that top 3 bump you get in terms of the placement points. There's 14 available if you're able to get before that top 3, but then you get the bonus +2 that end up coming through. And I mean, this trio has just been so consistent over the course in times. I felt like my prediction was almost a little bit cheap. I was shocked that they weren't taken. I got them in the 3rd round, but I'll take it every single time, just considering the upside and their potential when they play well. Just feels like they have more tools available to them, largely on the back of what Thomas HD and Anos bring to the table.
One of the qualifying weeks, there were my picks right there. I mean, we have to look in the VODs. I believed in them. That maybe they weren't unable to pop off in the week I picked them. Maybe I was a little too soon right here, but this is the format that our competitors have been doing here. This is day 2 of competition. Victory Royale gets you 25 points. 2nd gets you 20 points in placements. 3rd gets you 16. 4th through 17th is when the placement points begin. And you get 1 point there, of course, each elim. And here is that darling story. We saw them in the previous game at 9th place, and they slipped down to 11th place. So the slide continues, but there's only 4 points away there, Sundown.
Yeah, so the players who are between 8th and 11th right now, we're just going to break it down because, again, as a viewer, what do you care about? This is the final game. What do you want to be watching for? Well, we're going to be keeping an eye in the top left-hand corner to be seeing if any of these trios get full eliminated, as well as rotating through and seeing what they're through on the action. Right now, sitting on that kind of 112-point line, you have Void FN, Monster Muncher, and Pinkay. Tied with them, but the tiebreaker being broken by the Victory Royale, Blaster, Nikov, and Alpha. Then you have Kira, Sniper Guard, Naraxin, and then currently at 108, you have Trick Kaspersa, Zaini, and Fixie. All 4 of those trios are within 4 points of each other. Effectively, that means if they trio wipe one other and get 1 placement, that's enough of a swing. These are the key trios we're going to be paying attention to, but also don't forget that Maestro, Styler, and Ensar, as well as Legends, Cartoon, and Florixin, could potentially be upset if they go down early. So there's about 6 key trios who are looking to compete for automatic qualification. Now, the wildcard matchup line is currently sitting at 82 points. What does that mean for the average viewer? That means the players who are on that line are averaging right about 7.5 per match. So assuming you eliminate one other trio, that's 4 placement points. You're getting to right around kind of the top 10 threshold. That's the average you need. However, there's plenty of room for dramatics here in the last game.
That is what is on the line right here in this final game of Heat 1. And there's going to be a lot of these same stories as well, because all the heats are happening simultaneously throughout the EU region. We're going to have top 8s coming in, all converging into a top 32 of the who's who in the zoo. And then you're going to have that Covenant final 33rd spot up for grabs in the wild card match. That's all going to go down right before the Grand Championships. And literally you have a one night sleep to think about your game plan for that. Talk about extreme immense pressure.
Well, I thought for a second he actually pulled that legendary fish there, but no, it was just a regular flopper. I was honestly about to freak out because that would be
flopper trophy.
Yeah, you end up going through there, they end up pulling that one over, but either getting the mythic or even the legendary upgrade, that Midas fish coming through and being able to just instantly upgrade your loadout. Both of those in a final game situation would have been just an astronomically huge boon, but instead we're going to hop on board here with our current second place team, and we've talked about it. Vidil has looked like one of the strongest players in the region, being able to go toe-to-toe with Mongrel time and time again. But for Strokey saying, hey, what's up, Thomas? How you doing, man? Normally, we don't generally see some fights going on a Dirty Dock. They get more than enough time, but instead, a little bit of an ambush coming on and a little bit of a love tap here between our top two teams just going at us. For Strokey, it's going to get traded back from Flick, and it's actually going to be really important because if they're not able to cleanly win this fight or at least get out with Thomas's card, their odds of getting points in this game drop significantly. But this is a battle of the top two playing out right here, Sancho.
I gotta give it to Vidil's trio. They already did it to Benji's Lechi, and I think they're trying to test their mettle. They're saying, yo, on top of the board is Anas Flick and Thomas HG. We gotta get ready for Grands. We want to test them to see what we can do. And right now, they're not doing so hot in this test, as now they traded. So it's now it's a 2v2 situation right now. We have a build-up happening with Vidil and Flick, and then we have a box fight going down below with Kylie and the other trio made here of Anas. But Flick now, who's what we've seen go down first, we have known that he does get elims here. This is going to be a big kind of conditioning moment right now because Thomas HD and Vidil, essentially Vidil could say, you know what? In Grands, we're going to go ahead and take Dirty Docks away from Thomas HD and Trio. That could totally happen, Sundown.
Yeah, and you see for Strokey gets picked up and then is able to get the elimination as well. Vidil being pressured from the storm, but all going to come down to Anas. And as I say that, Kylie picks him up, and the top team gets a nice little heat check. Didn't pass it. You know, Vidil dipped his toes in the water, he says. This feels nice. Come right on in, boys. And the Dirty Docks experience the pool party and the cannonball. That's been Wave Vidil, Ovation for Strokey, Eccentric, Kylie, looking to take the #1 spot here in Heat 1 by just straight toppling Flick, Anas, and Thomas HD.
Dude, that is huge. Yes, you're going to maybe walk away in the #1 spot in Heat 1. Get that notoriety in that. Get that social media post. Get those impressions. But the impression that they made right then, right there, is they have an opportunity, if they want to overtake Dirty Docks. Yes, a lot of EU people thought the different heats are landing there, but there's no question that Thomas HG was not going to be contested there. As we're seeing Benji and the trio, they always tend to make this rotation, this slow rotation, and they're having a battle of their own here. Wolverine! Oh my goodness, Wolverine! Oh my goodness, Wolverine! My heart skipped a beat. Logan was going in, baby.
And when Logan comes knocking, you don't have much of a choice but to open up the doors because he's bursting through them anyway. But that was a huge pickup right there onto 200, 200, 200, as well being taken down. We talked about those teams kind of just wanting to buckle up and hold on as much as they can. That was our 7th place team going down with 0 points and being taken out. So all of a sudden, when we talk about needing the opportunity to close the door, well, one gets kicked wide on open.
Man, I gotta wonder as a gift of the llama comes down to our team that's currently sitting in, I'm taking a look here, they are sitting in 10th place at the moment. Yes, they're sitting in 10th place. So the sigh of relief, now that door is open for the bottom of the board, the people on the bubble to make their way through. I kind of wonder, I'm going to have to take a look. Maybe Monster D-Face could do a VOD review. What did Logan, a.k.a. Wolverine, Weapon X, do in that dangerous situation? Because he muddied up that fight. I mean, maybe he was coming in for that third party, but, man, he instantly got shut down, and that was a very scary situation, though. For a brief moment, I thought Benji was going to get added to Logan's Elim feed himself.
Now we're flipping on board here. Cartoon Florexin going without legends currently. This is our 6th place team. And again, we talked about just desperately needing to hold on. Well, they're in shambles, not necessarily in terms of the materials, but kind of hurting on the mats, or not on the mats, excuse me, on the weaponry, relying on kind of the rare and uncommon loadout. All the excess shields sitting on Florixen right now. No eliminations for them. They're currently sitting in 6th place with 122. So we talked about how 6th and 7th needed to have good games to hold on. Well, 7th has already been dropped, and 6th is in a lot of trouble as Cartoon eats a whole bunch of spray there. He's going to go down. It's all going to be on the back of Florixen to hold on. And nope, Kylie Vadil just again swiping through the field like a reaper with the scythe, no problem, taking all of that down. These are my crops, and the crops will be the points and the rest of EU Heat 1 as they try and steal that #1 spot. And you can see just a little bit of difference in this game, Sancho. We got 55 players left, 19 trios. The claws are out, not just from Wolverine, but from everybody who is left. For Strokey down with 3 eliminations, Kylie sitting on 2, but everyone, no holds barred, looking for every point they can, trying desperately to get into that top 16.
And they're playing a little bit out of their comfort zone, and that is what you have to do. We talked about at the analyst desk, it's just those moments of like, what can you do to extend yourself? And we're just seeing so many people extending themselves, wearing themselves thin, and it's costing their tournament run. Their day is over. We're going to see who's going to be in that 9 through 16 range to be in the wild card, and who is definitely going to be in that top 8 to have a guaranteed spot. Who's going to earn the spurs to the big rodeo that's going to happen here this weekend on Halloween. We're talking about big time scares. We're talking about spooky haunting, whatever you want to get into the Halloween spirit. But now is Hardfind, Astro, Mexi, who are in 12th place going to this battle, knowing 6th. And I think you mentioned 7th is down. This will be a hard opportunity for them to make their way in.
But they are relatively far out, a little bit outside of kind of that contention range. They can still do it, but it's going to take a lot. Currently sitting on 99 points. The 8th place mark is 112, but you can expect that to kind of bounce up again if we just go by averages. We've played 11 games. If the 8th place spot is right at that 110 mark, they've averaged just over 10 points a game. So we can kind of guess that the 8th place mark is going to be right around 124, 125. However, as we've seen time and time again, that mark always just seems to creep up one extra point. You think you're safe, then all of a sudden you're not. And another team right on that bubble, on that 10th place mark, 109 points coming in right now. It's Kira and his trio.
Yeah, and look just up north, another trio that's on the bubble. Stories are colliding right here. That is the Godsend trio with Michael right behind. Those are the other, that trio right there you mentioned, it needs another little pop-off because they're just behind, 4 points behind Hardfinds and Mexi's trio. So Godsend Co., they said they figured out how to get the in-game. They definitely have to get the in-game here, but it's going to be a little bit of a lighter in-game situation as we're seeing already 57 players available, 19 trios, and we're already kind of fast-track, fast-pass, whatever you want to say, so close to placements, and that's going to be big for our bubble teams here, Sundown.
It's going to be huge for them just adding in and cranking in those points. But one thing to note, too, here, remember the format. 25 points for a victory royale, and each elimination is 1 point. Generally, you're not going to see a win in trios with less than 5 elims, so 30 points over to the victor at a minimum, and we've seen as high as a 19 elimination match come through. So there's more than enough points on the table. Anybody left in this match who wins will book themselves at least a spot in the wild card, but everyone who's up is having their eyes on that top 8. They want to make sure they have a guaranteed spot here as we're going to swing on over to the uncontested Dooms trio. 100 Thieves, Mr. Savage, Energy, Benji, and Atlantis Lecce right on the side of the zone. Currently plenty of crash pads, plenty of shockwaves, plenty of points. They've made their way into the grand finals. The question is, what can they do to deny others as Vadil continues on his streak of denying others? That's the Godsend trio who runs into the absolute buzzsaw that has been Vadil so far today. He's going to get wakey, and the question is, will they be able to escape from that? A Savage is going to get pushed back a little bit. Naraxin, another bubble team, picking up a knock onto Akusto. We're going to be keeping a lot of eyes on that top left as Void also going to be able to get a knock. It's another bubble team trying to secure their spot here, but Benji and Co. under pressure right now on the edge of zone and being backed off a little bit.
They gotta kind of retreat just a hair, just a moment here. They're gonna try to join the Anas Mitro Fasroki as the 2 Victory Royales winners. They only have one here in this heats. No doubt Benji Savage and Letch are gonna want to get that second one right there to remind everybody what's going on, that you can't forget about them, Sundown.
Monster Muncher just got converted on, and I didn't see him get knocked to me. That was our 8th place team. I think our 8th place team just went down outside of placement points. Keep an eye on that top left corner, because we currently have 18 trios remaining, which means we're about to get into the top 17 as we see Ottawell, Jachu, and Paco pushing in with Wave Advise, trying to take advantage of the fight going on, and Mr. Savage doing what Mr. Savage does best, sticking in a cone, waiting for an opportunity, but not quite going to get it. Going to crash pad himself out, try and create a little bit of distance, tries to find an angle to get back in, but Benji gets cleaned up, and they're going to fall to the hands of Link, Seventor, and Fremok, who are doing their best to get into the range for that wildcard match. Came in at 23rd, and they need a lot of help, as does Advise, Jachu, and Paku, who are also trying to get into contention for that.
For that trio, these two who are basically neighbors right now, they are going to need a victory royale to give them that opportunity. They pop off, as we've been watching Vidil's trio right here pop off and knock on doors on so many trios trying to qualify, as Mongrel is the next door neighbor here, knock on this door aggressively, but they're able to get Vidil at the brief moment, and they have plenty of opportunity to get to Vidil to full strength and a full 200 HP. Vidil! Oh my goodness, Mitro says, not so fast, my friend. Fasroki gets elimed as Tayson gets traded out by Mexi. So now Mongrel's still up and Mitro's still up, and I think Mongrel is making it personal against Vidil.
And one thing to note about these trains, it's incredibly interesting to me that the top of the leaderboard is all fighting the top of the leaderboard, effectively canceling each other out and giving points over to the rest. This is an opportunity for every single one of the teams who is on that top 8 bubble and trying to fight for a wildcard spot to rise up and get these extra points. Because all of a sudden, all of these points, the top 2 teams, Flick, Anas, Thomas HC, Vidil, Fastroki, and Kylie, they're gone. They're out. 400 points that have been allocated to these guys aren't going to get sucked up anymore, and there's plenty on the table. And on top of that, Tayson is down again, so Mitro and Mongrel will be at a little bit of a handicap. However, as we saw last game and the game before, that's no problem from there, being able to rotate through. As we're going to hop on over with Void, I think he might be the last remaining member of that top 8 trio, and he is, with a singular elimination. He is holding on for placement points and whatever else he can. He is the last hope, the final opportunity for Monster PK and Void to go through. It's all on his back, but if there was ever a loadout to do it with, he has it. He has priority on zone. He has plenty of metal, Sancho, but he needs to avoid this lobby focus right now.
Void holding on as much as possible, like a swaying tree in the wind, trying not to break, trying to be a rubble tree and hold on as much as possible. Can Void put this trio on his back and carry them into the big dance? And that is what we're watching here, folks. Top 8 events. We know that Void and PK Monster Muncher want to be able to solidify that top 8 placements, but look at it. It is Paco, Advise, and Jacho, a full trio on the heels of Void. And now we're going to take a look at the rest of the lobby here, Sundown, and we're seeing at height is Sanji Fishy. Down below here, right in front of us, it's Hardfind Mexi.
Fixie, Ziny, and Kaspersa, another team right on that bubble, 11th place. We've talked about it. They're only 4 points off. There are plenty of teams who have the opportunity. Nikov, Alpha, and Blaster also in this. All of the teams. 8 is in, 9 is in, 10 is in, 11 is in as well. They're all right here. It's going to come down to the absolute final moments. Match number 12 here in EU in Heat 1. And the question is, can you be the hero? Can you rise to the opportunity that has been given to you by these top teams battling each other out and effectively taking themselves off of the leaderboard? Can you take that room and capitalize? Who will rise? Will Void be able to 1v3 and be the Lone Ranger that has so epitomized the European play, or will in the final moments he be forced out of the top 8? As we see the rotations are beginning, Vettel, Stursix, and Eyedrop are right next to Void on the low ground, and he has to be careful. You don't want to run into that trio box to box.
And here we go. It is in-game time. Zone 6, 7, 8, and 9 will determine who gets into the big dance. The top 8 move through, but all our dangerous players have to avoid is the top of the board, and that is Stir 6, Vettel, and iDrop. They've been dropping names all over the tournament. Today, can Stir 6, iDrop, and Vettel make the statements that the Nas, Mongrel, and especially Vedil have made today? This has been the most quiet trio throughout the entire day, quietly putting their heads down and getting placement points, getting E-limbs, and we're getting closer and closer to the end, and they have to avoid Storm Surge here at 16th. Here we go. Placement points are being doled out.
And you called it out right away. Storm Surge in play. And also, Sancho, there were 42 players up. Now there's 43. Somebody got a reboot off in 7th zone, but Kaspersa goes down, and that's Stir 6. But Emo is in the box right away, and Emo is ruining the gatekeeping opportunity. Gets a drop right away onto Vettel. Snappy goes down to Nerixon. That's some bubble on bubble crime. Kylie gets Fixie as well. Yuki is going to tick over onto Michael. Michael's run is going to end. Fixie gets converted on as well. Up on the high ground, we have Popoff, Zestin, and Orion trying to control what they can. They're currently in 12th, 115 points, trying to climb up. Can they do it from the high ground control? But you see Zestin gets dropped down. But all of a sudden, in a tarp by themselves, the French trio, the veterans, Nikov, Alpha, and Blaster, they open up the door, and that's Mitro and Tayson erased instantly. 2 huge E-limbs, all of the siphon going over to them, and that should be enough to give them room to have a chance to clutch up. But the high ground is in play, and they're in contention.
Yeah, Ovation, if they could get some E-limbs along the way and capitalize with the Victory Royale, they will have a chance to get in the top 8. But now the story is, Nikov, he has an opportunity to get in the top 8 as well. It is a trio going down to a duo, Nikov and Blaster, someone that we've been watching the entire time kind of be on the struggle bus in shambles, trying to find a way on the low ground to get inside right now. They have a big opportunity, they just have to capitalize as much as possible. But the story is, can Ovation trio on height get their way in and sneak in with the Victory Royale, Sundown? It is totally possible.
And it's the German versus French, the German Org of Ovation up top. Orion, Scout, and Zestin trying to rain down fire, but the eliminations are over on the side. Nikov and Blaster have 3, make it 4, make it 5, as they're on the low ground and racking up the points. They have the chug splashes as well, and the question is, will it be enough? They are able to get the mats coming through. We have our top 5 trios. We're almost into our top 10 players. Zestin is able to find a pair. Nikov finds another one. Nikov goes off with the shockwave on height, but the Ovation trio drops down. All of a sudden, Blaster and Nikov have the height, and they've taken away. Scout gets knocked on the backside, and the German trio gives up the control, and the veterans, the French veterans, try and take it back. And as I say that, Orion's able to find it. We're going to hop back on board with Stir 6. It's a 3v2v2. As you can see, Orion picks up Blaster. What will happen here at the end? The battle out in the storm. It's the German trio who's able to find a pair, but they get knocked. Orion trying to win it out. Can he find the Victory Royale? Can he find the points that he needs? Or will Vettel and Stir 6 be able to play spoiler? A huge 90 shot here, trying to find the second one, but he can't quite do it. I apologize. Stir 6 versus iDrop, 1v2. Crash Pads and Stir 6. Will he be able to drop him down? First shot comes through, second shot misses. iDrop should be able to find it. He goes down, but Orion gets cleared out, and it's gonna come down to the absolute wire. What monumental efforts from both of our teams. Like, oh my God, Sancho.
Oh my goodness, the ultimate gatekeep by Stir 6 trio. Let's take a look at who is going to be our overall heat winner, as it all came down to those final moments here in the last game here of Heat 1 Day 2. Oh my goodness, what a ride it was, Sundown.
And you can see there at the top, it didn't matter that Vedil came through and tried to kick in the door. They held fast and were able to hold up the #1 spot. Flick, Become Legends and Us, and Gamma Gaming, Thomas HD, also just so happened to be my prediction, but they'll walk away with a ticket to that big dance. But the question that I want to know, that I'm sure you want to know,
I do.
and I hope the viewers at home want to know, is what happened with that 8th place spot. Who ended up taking over, because it was so close at the end. I couldn't keep track of the points, and those two trios battled their absolute hearts out with everything on the line.
Everybody did, man. Everybody did. Even the people that are trying to find their way into that wild card match that's happening. So much was happening at the end game. So many opportunities were being seized. It was a magical moment to see that Elevation Trio make that last second push to try to get into that top 8. We're talking about some big time performances, and I am just so excited just to have this opportunity to call the action, and I cannot wait for the next couple of days. Sundown, it has been so far the absolute pleasure to kind of co-pilot this entire cast with you.
It's been amazing, but that's going to be it from us. We had a blast today. We'll catch the NAE's action after. My name's Sundown.
I am Sancho. We're just kicking it to the analyst desk. Thank y'all.
You guys are so great. I love those dudes so much. Good job, Sancho. Great games on the day. Fantastic cast. And as you guys saw, Sundown's pick, Subtle Flex, did come out in that #1 spot, but as he did follow up, it is important to see which top 8 trios are moving on to tomorrow's grand finals, because we're done with EU. That's it. Remember, the top 8 trios will be pushed on to grand finals. Trios that land between 9th and 16th place will be entered into the wild card match, where they'll have